Okay. It is day 5 of Fierce Live, and it's Friday, March 20th. I think this is the first full day of spring. So I'm still deciding what I'm doing next week as far as if I'm going to YouTube Live or I'm going to continue with this Zoom option. I'm honestly not sure yet. The only drawback to going to YouTube Live is that I'm not sure people can participate in the same way they can participate with Zoom. But honestly, at this point, I'm not sure how many people are interested in doing that. So, but we will see. I will be posting on my website, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter. And the people who subscribe to my newsletter will also get directly an email with the details of how next week's connection is going to go. And if I wind up switching over to YouTube Live, that should be a permanent. You just figure out where you're going, and then you can go there anytime you want. Okay, so today I'm going to start with another analytical meditation, which I love. It is 10:31 a.m. and I'm alone. So if no one joins me today, I'm going to be doing a fair amount of reading from a bunch of books that I think have some really cool messages. And I'll talk a little bit about healthy eating. See if I can straighten myself out here. Okay. All right, so we're going to get ready for the meditation. I'm actually going to tilt this so you can look at something while I'm doing this. Okay. Right, okay, and now I'm going to stop the video. Okay. Oops. Yeah, all right, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm just going to put this, maybe I'll put it over here. Sorry. We are a work in progress. That's okay. All right. You can look at that picture of the Little Prince while I do the meditation. Hopefully that doesn't fall over. Okay. Okay. So sit however is comfortable and gently close your eyes. Rest your mind wide open. So listen to any sounds. Notice any feelings in your body. That could be anything from the warmth of your face to where your hands are resting in your lap or on the chair or the floor. And then feel your breath come and go, either in your nostrils or your chest or your belly. Just let your awareness and attention be the space where all of these sensations are appearing. And that is literally all there really is your awareness and attention. And if you notice any mood or coloring to your awareness and attention, and that might be feeling tired or feeling restless or feeling anxious or bored or peaceful, any feeling at all, any mood at all, just notice that too, the same way you're noticing any sensations in your body or any sounds you're hearing. And notice, where do you feel the mood? Do you feel it as energy? Just notice that and become aware that that is just appearing. The feeling of being tired or restless or anxious or peaceful or bored is also just a sensation in your mind that your awareness or your attention are tuned into. So what's aware of those moods is not itself the mood. So it's not restlessness that's aware of restlessness. It's your mind. And your mind doesn't take the shape of what it knows. It's just aware of it. See if you can feel that. Become aware of the feelings in your face and your head. And instead of feeling that awareness and attention is in your head or behind your face, consider that it's the other way around. The feeling of having a head or of having a face is appearing in your mind as a thought. It's appearing in the same place that sounds appear and any other thoughts. So the feeling of having a head or a face or a body appears in the same place where you hear the sound of my voice. There is only one place that you're noticing anything and everything, and that's in your awareness and with your attention. So rest as that awareness and rest as that attention. And if you notice that you've been lost in thought, there's no need to judge that moment. That is just another moment of awareness and attention. So just start again. And watch what happens to the thought that you had. Just rest as the space where it evaporates or disappears. And notice what comes next. Sounds, feelings, another thought. As you practice meditation, you see that thoughts themselves become objects of meditation. So the practice becomes something where when a thought arises, it's no longer the same as losing the thread of mindfulness. It begins to feel as if there is no way to lose the thread. there is nothing to be distracted, because there is only one space where everything and anything is. So what could be distracted from what? And in this last minute, just begin again. See if you can pay precise attention to whatever is appearing in your awareness, to your senses, all as one space. Okay, I'm just going to put this here. All right. So good morning. I am happy it's Friday, because I'm usually happy it's Friday because the weekend is coming, though everything and nothing seems like a weekend, if that makes any sense. Today I'm grateful for I want to say I'm grateful for when I don't have any pain in my neck, because today I do. I'm not sure why, but I have a pain in my neck right here. So I'm grateful for when I don't have a pain in my neck, if that makes any sense. I'm aware that sometimes I don't have this pain, and I'm looking forward to feeling like that again. And I guess I'm grateful that I don't have pain in other parts of my body. And I'm also grateful for my dog, who's sitting. Oh, there she is. I'm going to get her. I'm going to show you my dog.
Guinness.
Okay. So this is my girl. So she is always by my side. She sits at my feet every morning when I do this. And she'll sit at the gate if she's somewhere where she can't get to me, and she sits by the door when I walk out. So this is Guinness. Guinness, say hi. Say hi. So I'm very grateful for her. Let me put you back down here. Okay. So today I wanted to talk about two things, unless anyone has anything they'd like to request. I want to talk first about eating healthy, because I don't think there's enough talk about staying healthy right now. I think that there's a lot of talk about washing your hands and avoiding people, but there isn't a lot of talk about avoiding bad foods and eating good foods. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. There are some foods that I think of, and not just me, but are considered superfoods. So there are broccoli, spinach, kale, asparagus, ascarole, Brussels sprouts. And these are just the things that I try to eat on a regular basis. I know that there are many more. I'm just calling to mind my top ones that I go to often. And making any of these vegetables is pretty easy. It doesn't have to be complicated. You just have to make them not too long after you buy them, because, they have a shelf life, obviously. I'm thinking one day next week I might actually do a little cooking session. See how that could go, because we have limited time. But or I might just do a video and post it of me cooking something with one of these vegetables. But so for instance, yesterday I had 2 heads of broccoli just sauteed. So I just cut up the pieces so that they're sort of bite size. And I include the stem as well. And I just put them in a frying pan or wok with some olive oil. And I, just saute them on medium heat for maybe about no more than 10 minutes, just so that you see when you, especially when you do it with broccoli, all of a sudden the green gets very intense. And I put a little bit of salt on top. You can add garlic. I mean, I personally don't, but some people feel like plain sauteed broccoli with salt and olive oil is bland. Then, you could always just add red pepper flakes, or you could add whatever, sesame seeds. I love sesame seeds actually, and sometimes I include those. Garlic, whatever. And you can just add these while you're sauteing them, so it doesn't have to be anything complicated. You could put nuts in there. You could put like slivered almonds towards the end. This way they don't burn, or pine nuts or anything. Cashews. This is a great way to get especially when you add things like that. When you add things like almonds or cashews or pine nuts, because that's a very rich, filling, protein-packed food. So when you add things like that, it's definitely going to be filling. It's definitely going to be a meal. And I haven't even talked about adding any grains. So you don't necessarily have to add any grains. I mean, I know people like to add like maybe pasta or rice or quinoa, which is probably one of the best ones you could add, but you don't even really have to. So this can be so simple. It's just the vegetable and whatever little added things you want to throw in there. So I had that yesterday. I had peanuts and carob nibs, which I love because I'm a chocolate fiend, but I also try to avoid sugar. So carob nibs are just like really pulverized versions of they're not carob nibs, sorry, cacao nibs. It's like a pulverized cacao bean. So I just put those with some peanuts and just eat them together like they're, it's almost like cereal without milk. So I had that. And that has, an insane amount of protein, and the antioxidants in the cacao are really high. So that's like a super food as well. I think it was at least a cup, maybe 2 of blueberries. And I had this nut mix that I make, which is dried cherries, cashews, almonds, and pistachio nuts with a teensy bit of salt, not too much, and obviously you don't have to include that if you're not as into salt as I apparently am. And that again, like a crazy amount of protein, super filling. And then the only other thing I had yesterday was, and this is going to sound possibly crazy, but I had 2 heads of ascarole chopped, with some garlic. I used 2 cloves of garlic with that, and a can of very well rinsed cannellini beans. So what you do with that, this is like a super filling meal, especially if you're using 2 heads of ascarole. The place we get our ascarole from is the ascarole's super tiny, so that's why we get 2. And ascarole's a little tricky to clean. It tends to hold dirt and stuff in there, so I clean each leaf one at a time, which is also a little annoying, but worth it. And I put that in, I drain out as much of the liquid as I can, put that in a big like pasta pot with olive oil and garlic, the 2 cloves of garlic chopped, and then I just like put that on a medium heat for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then you have to strain it because there's so much liquid in the ascarole that when you heat it, all the liquid comes out of it, and you wind up with, if you start off with like this much, you wind up with like that much at the end because it's like spinach like that. All the liquid just is out of it now, and now you're just left with a bunch of leaves. And then I put that with cannellini beans and hot red pepper flakes. And that is, I'm actually salivating as I talk about it. I love that. Again, you can add quinoa or rice or gluten-free pasta. But you don't have to. You could add potatoes, but you don't have to. I think it's the beans and the ascarole and the garlic are flavorful and filling enough that you don't need to add a grain to make it hearty. And I had a decent amount of water. I probably had 3 to 4 liters of water yesterday, and that's what I had yesterday, and vitamins. So if anybody's interested in me actually making one of those on a video, I'm happy to do that, because I make all of those things almost every day, or at least 2 or 3 times a week. So I'm happy to demonstrate that if anybody is interested. But I think that eating healthy is, like I said, something that people aren't talking enough about. And I heard something today that there's a run on alcohol. No, there should be a run on alcohol now, because that's serious. I understand that it's being used to ease people's anxiety, but it's so temporary that I really don't think it's worth it. That's why I'd rather, you don't have to join this or listen to me, but if there's got to be, I hear of so many people doing things like this, that find some, community online thing, or just call people, but don't start drowning your sorrows literally in alcohol. Like, I'm just very sad to hear that there's a run on alcohol, but there's like vegetables bursting from the seams of every grocery store I've passed. Like, there should be a run on broccoli right now, in my mind. Okay, so that's my spiel on eating healthy for today. And I want to read from 2 books today. This book that I love and I highly recommend is called The Book of Mistakes by Skip Prichard. The byline is 9 Secrets to Creating a Successful Future. So in the beginning of each of his chapters, he lists a mistake, and then he puts like bullet points of sort of how to reframe that. So I'm going to read today a little bit about mistake number 6. It says, allowing temporary setbacks to become permanent failures. So, he talks a lot in this particular one about gratitude as well. If I have time, I might read from that. That I invite you all also to think of what you're grateful for today. So just take a moment to consider that if you haven't already. Okay, so I'm just going to read. He says, quickly getting back into the game remolds our experience positively before it has time to harden negatively. Your thoughts control your destiny. So that's why I talk a lot about gratitude, because I think that the more grateful we are for what we do have, the better we'll feel. Don't get through the day. Learn from the day. So that's another thing. I think I like the idea that there are no real mistakes, that they're all just learning experiences. You're never going to learn anything if you don't make a mistake, right? I mean, like a child learning to walk has to fall down to realize how not to fall down, right? When you're teaching a pet how to obey something you want them to do, they're going to have to make mistakes to understand how not to do that anymore. I've made a ridiculous number of mistakes in my life that I've definitely learned from, but I wouldn't have learned from them if I didn't make the mistakes. So I think we all can appreciate that there's always an opportunity to learn. Don't let current circumstances define your destiny. So that's a little tricky because I know we talk a lot about living in the moment, but that doesn't mean that that's all there is, right? I mean, it doesn't mean forever that's your destiny, is sort of the way I interpret that. A setback is compounded when you allow an unwelcome label to stick. Yeah, I like that one because I hate labels. I was once somewhere, I don't remember where this was, and they asked us, like a group of us, to define ourselves. And I think the first thing I wrote was that I was human. Because I don't like thinking of myself necessarily as a woman or as somebody's daughter or as somebody's mother, as somebody's wife, or I'm a human being on the planet Earth is how I like to try to remind myself that I can define myself as and not some other label. Setbacks are seeds that sprout opportunity. So that's sort of like what I was saying earlier, that you learn from your mistakes. Excuses are weeds that try to choke progress. So I really like the idea of that, because it's okay to feel bad and it's okay to think you did something wrong, as long as you're like, all right, what did I learn from that and how can I do that differently next time? And not let that stop you from moving forward. Don't accept a temporary experience as a permanent declaration. That's sort of like, don't let your current circumstance define your destiny. I really like this one. Look at everyone you meet as a wise teacher. Everyone you meet knows something you don't know, because there's no way you can possibly know everything, right? So every single person or being, count my dogs in this, that you meet has an opportunity to teach you something that you can find useful in your life. Even if it's a mistake they make. So you can learn from somebody else's mistake. So that could be a wise teacher in that way. Successful people see temporary failures as stepping stones to success. So that's kind of the theme of what this whole mistake number 6 has been about, is that there is no such thing as a failure. There's a way to learn from everything that happens. So this guy, Skip Prichard, The Book of Mistakes. So I highly recommend it. I'll be reading more from him. And he does talk about gratitude, but I wanted to read a poem. Let's see, how much is that? Yeah, I'll read that next week. But in the meantime, I want to read from this book. This is called Leadership and the Art of Growing Up, Reboot by Jerry Colonna. So I think this guy is really interesting. I learned about him from a podcast. Forget which podcast. It might have been Dan Harris, but I'm not sure. But he, in this book, he quotes a poem by David Whyte, who I love. He's been on Being with Krista Tippett a couple times. And I'm just going to read this poem because I really like it. By the lake, in the wood, in the shadows, you can whisper that truth to the quiet reflection you see in the water. Remember, in this place, no one can hear you. And out of the silence, you can make a promise it will kill you to break. I really like that poem, so I thought I'd share that with you. And you can reflect on what that means for you. I don't want to frame it with what it means for me right now. Maybe we'll talk about it next week, but I do want to read it again. And I'll post it where I post this video on Facebook. I will post these 3 stanzas of this poem. So I'm going to read it one more time. By the lake, in the wood, in the shadows, you can whisper that truth to the quiet reflection you see in the water. Remember, in this place, no one can hear you. And out of that silence, you can make a promise it will kill you to break. I love that. I love that. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you reflect on that a little bit today. So thank you for joining me this week. I'm so excited. This means a lot to me to be able to do this. Even if I'm the only one listening, I really like doing this. So I hope others of you that are listening and tuning in are getting something out of this. And it's a pleasure, and I thank you, and I hope you have a fabulous weekend. I will see you back here on Monday, and I will post on my website, to my email list, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn exactly how to connect next week. It's either going to be this same way with new dial-in information or through YouTube Live. And the reason I'm not considering Facebook Live is because I don't want anybody to feel like they have to have a Facebook account. And I might do both. I don't know. So we'll see. But thank you. Have a fabulous weekend. I really appreciate and I'm grateful to you all. So thank you. Bye-bye.